If you are just joining us, we had a couple of big new developments tonight in the Orlando terror attack. First, we just got some reports quoting the gunman's wife, who is reportedly now complaining about her media coverage. Also, the Kelly File learned that some of the first subpoenas have gone out in a grand jury investigation looking into this case. And in Washington tonight, new fallout after the CIA director today appeared to directly contradict his boss, President Obama, when it comes to the progress we've made fighting the Islamic State terror group. Here is Director Brennan this morning, along with the president earlier this week.
We've seen that this continues to be a difficult fight, but we are making significant progress.
Despite all our progress against ISIL on the battlefield and in the financial realm, our efforts have not reduced the group's terrorism capability and global reach.
ISIL's ranks are shrinking as well. Their morale is sinking.
The numbers of ISIL fighters now far exceeds what al-Qaeda had at its height.
These are not religious warriors, they are thugs and they are thieves.
Again, there are hardcore fighters, there are adherents.
As ISIL continues to lose territory, it also continues to lose the money that is its lifeblood.
Yet, ISIL is adapting to the coalition's efforts, and it continues to generate at least tens of millions of dollars in revenue per month.
Beyond Syria and Iraq, ISIL is also losing ground in Libya.
The branch in Libya is probably the most developed and the most dangerous.
General Michael Hayden is the former director of the CIA and NSA and author of Playing to the Edge, American Intelligence in the Age of Terror. General, great to see you tonight.
Thanks, Megan.
I mean, the messages could not be more different. These two gentlemen are not on the same page at all. I mean, you tell me who's snowing us.
Well, I mean, what you've got here is certainly different emphases between the president and his CIA director. Look, let me unpack that just a little bit, Megan. We expect policymakers to be optimistic. We pay intelligence officers to be pessimistic, and John delivered that in spades today. When the president gave the happy, yeah, right, and when the president gave kind of the happy face with regard to the war against ISIS, he was pretty much confining his remarks to Iraq and Syria, where frankly we've gotten a bit better. John was talking about the global threat, which he indicated was actually getting a lot worse. The president's trying to put a ribbon around this in the last 7 months of the administration. John is heading an agency that's still going to be working 8 months from now, and so it's essential for him to be very realistic, to use your word. And then,
but it's irritating.
Finally,
it's irritating to the American people in the wake of a terror attack here to hear the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, downplay the threat that we all know is there. He's not fooling anybody with this.
Well, no, and I think Director Brennan, look, the director works for the president, but the director is also paid to be, as you suggested, Megan, very realistic. And John gave a very honest assessment from the CIA point of view. Now, the president wants to project his policy as being successful, but John is actually leading an agency that, if the public record is correct, Megan, an agency that suggested we need to have been doing a lot more against this enemy over the past 2 or 3 years.
The CIA agents have already come out, I mean, as you know, and in various reports, made clear that they were warning President Obama about the rising threat of ISIS. When President Obama was telling us it was JV, the intel he was receiving said something very different. And now we know this thing is anything but JV, and it's expanded all over the Middle East and beyond and become a major problem. It's metastasized. So I ask you now, if you were still in there advising this president, how would you go? I mean, they're everywhere. It's not just a matter of brushing them back in Syria and Iraq anymore. I mean, they're all over the place. They're in Libya, 5,000 to 8,000. Egypt, several hundreds, they said.
Right.
Yemen, Nigeria, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and it goes on. So what are we supposed to do?
Well, there are several approaches we could do. Number one, keep on doing what we're doing in Iraq and Syria. Finally, we've put enough effort in there and we've kind of loosened the rules of engagement that we're actually seeing significant success. So keep that up, perhaps expand it to these other centers of ISIS power in Libya, perhaps even in Nigeria. Continue to do what we're doing with regard to intelligence, all right? Look, as a measure of our success, Megan, we've driven ISIS, which wanted to be a state and a caliphate, we've made it look more like al-Qaeda, pushing it into raw terrorism. Now we've got to deal with that as a measure of some success against core ISIS in Iraq and in Syria.
Let's talk about what's going on back here, because you used to run the NSA, and that's the agency that was listening in when a terrorist was believed to be having a phone call, that kind of thing, that got so much negative attention and has been, changed significantly since you were there. What would you do to find, as Comey said, the needle in the haystack, or even the piece of hay that's about to convert into a needle, as he put it?
Well, this is a sad story, Megyn, because what I used to do was designed to catch the attack that was being planned and hatched over here and catch it while it was being exported into the United States to do damage to our own citizens. What we see now with these self-radicalized lone wolf individuals, they're not leaving the kind of trail, Megyn, that I used to be able to detect at NSA and even at CIA. So we've got a new kind of problem set here that Director Comey is trying to point out to all of us. This is going to be very, very hard work. Look, let me give you a sense of what Director Comey's challenge is here. He's heading a law enforcement agency, Megyn, and we're now telling him his task is to find not the guilty, which they're very good at, but the not yet guilty. And that is a real challenge.
There are signs of radicalization. We saw it here. This guy made it onto FBI radar, and then they moved on because we have civil liberties in the country. But you tell me whether they're going to some extent, be reassessed if we get real about the threat that's within our borders.
We're going to have a real serious conversation about it, Megyn, and we're probably going to move the line. We're probably going to change the Attorney General guidelines with regard to what the Bureau can do when investigating someone without a criminal predicate. Investigating the spaces between cases was the way that we described it.
They're going to have to look at people's Facebook. They may have to look at emails and so on, which we're going to be told is a catastrophic violation of privacy rights.
It's not catastrophic, Meg, but look, mark my words. In 6 months, after the Bureau started to do that, and we all begin to feel safe again, there are going to be other commentators on other shows complaining about the unleashed Federal Bureau of Investigation.
It's happened every time before. General, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Megyn.
Think about that guy. He ran the CIA and the NSA. He knows of what he speaks. Up next, Howard Stern's must